Start recording. Make this bigger. Okay. What's the largest number that can go into -28, -28, and -12? 6 doesn't go into 28. 4. And I can't take out any variables because this doesn't have a variable with it. So when you're factoring by the greatest, oh, it'd just be 4, sorry. 4 and 4. So I'd put the 4 on the outside and just divide. So that'd be -7, -7m, -3m squared. And it just said factor the greatest common factor, so I'm done. Okay? Now the next ones are when we have to do the big X. So I'm going to do the big X. A here is equal to 1. B is equal to 3. C is equal to -18. Why did I write 10 when I said 18? I don't know. Okay, C is for ceiling. So I'm going to put -18 up on top here. B is for basement. I'm going to come down here. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to make 18, but when you add them together, it equals a 3. Now, according to the sign chart, if I have negative and I have a positive, the only way that's going to work is if one number is positive and one number is negative. Because negative times positive is negative. And when you add a positive and negative number, you take the sign of the bigger number, right? You still are going to be subtracting. So, what two numbers can I multiply together to get a -18, but when I add them together, I get 3? And it'd be 6 and -3. So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Remember, this bottom number here has to match the sign of the bigger number. So all you would do then is put m plus 6 and m minus 3, right? Okay, over here, I got a big X, and I'm going to, this is A, B, C. My ceiling's going to be -3. My basement's going to be -2. These are both negative. For that to happen, one would have to be positive, one's going to have to be negative. What two numbers multiply to -3, but when you add them together, they get a -2? -3 and +1. So it should look like this: x plus 1, x minus 3. Okay, so over here, big X again, right? And I have A, B, C. 40 goes up here, -13 goes down here. This is positive, this is negative. For that to happen, these would both have to be negative, because negative times negative is positive. When I add two negatives together, it stays negative. What two numbers can you add together to get -13, but when you multiply them together, you get 40? 9 times 4 is 40? What was it? It was 8 and 5. 8 plus 5 is 30. It really helps if you have the factor chart in front of you. Do you have the factor chart? If you need one, there's extra ones over there. So you would look at the 40 on your factor chart, Jacob. So find 40 on your, and you see you have 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 8 and 5. Okay. Well, the only two that you could add together to get 13 would have been 8 and 5. And they would both be negative because this had been -13. So then I'd go R minus 8, r minus 5. Does that make sense now? Okay, for this one, you are going to have to factor first. So, what number do all three terms have in common? 2. So, I'm going to divide each one of these by 2 before I factor. So, I'm going to have 2 parentheses v to the second power minus 9v minus 10. Right? Now I'm going to do the big X. This will be A, B, C. Yes. Hmm? I divided these 2 by 2 is 1. I'm left with V squared. 18 divided by 2 is 9, and I have a V. And 20 divided by 2 is 10. You can't pull out any variables because this 20 had no variable in common. Hmm? I'm getting there. We can't do it quite yet. I didn't solve the question yet. I'm still working on it. Negative 10 is ceiling. Negative 9 is basement. What two numbers could you multiply together to make 10, but add together equal negative 9? Yeah. Yep. This would be a plus 1. This would be negative 10. Now I could do 2 parentheses v plus 1 v minus 10. Yeah, this is 2 parts. You had to do the greatest common factor first, and then with just the inside trinomial, you're doing the big X to factor that. Okay, so over here, I'm going to have to do greatest common factor again. Do you see that all three numbers can be divided by 2? So 2, 2, 2. N to the second power plus 9, n plus 20. I have a big X. I can put 20 up here, 9 down here. They're both positive, so that means these are both going to be positive. What two numbers can multiply together to get 20? You add them together to get 9. 4 and 5. So we have 2 parentheses and plus 4 and plus 5. Yes. Yes. I can. I'm going to show. I do. What? Because you don't know if you're going to add or subtract. Okay. So, are we good with number 6? Okay. Was that it? Okay, good. And then some people had some questions. I'll use this blank space here from yesterday's homework. So, Ro, you said you wanted me to do what number? So, number 3, you're not going to use the big X. For number 3, it's just greatest common factor. These are ones, right? So you don't have to worry about the numbers, but they both have m. And when you're pulling out the greatest common factor, you use the lowest exponent. So you're going to divide by m. M comes out in front. M goes into m squared. 2 minus 1 is 1, so that's just m. Plus m divided by m is 1. You're fine. That's what I'm here for, right? I love answering questions. Yes. Go ahead, Rosa. Well, she had an earlier one because she wanted me to do 3 of them. What was the next one, Ro? But number 5 you got? Okay. So number 17, Rosa, was the one you pointed at. Is that the one? Which one? 15. Okay, 15, we have 4n squared minus 4n minus 168. We need to divide by the greatest common factor. What's the greatest common factor? 4. You're going to divide all 3 of these by 4. So 4 goes out here. Yes. If we can't assume, like, say that there isn't a greatest common factor, that there is when it's just 2 of them, then we're going to do something different. It's called AC grouping. We are not there yet. You're jumping 2 lessons ahead because today we're doing grouping, and then the next lesson is AC grouping. Okay, so I'm going to divide n squared minus, I'll put 1n just for those who like that, minus, what's 168 divided by 4? 42? Yes, 42. Right? So then if I look at the big X, I have negative 42 on top. I have negative 1 on the bottom. What 2 numbers will multiply together to get a negative 42? When you add them, it's a negative 1. You know one's going to be negative, one's going to be positive, so you subtract the 2 numbers. Look at 42 on your factor chart. Which 2 numbers would you subtract and get 1 under 42? Come on, everyone. 42 is 1 and 42. 2 and 21. 3 and I don't know what's 3. That'd be 14. Does 4 go into it? No. There's 5, 6, and 7. Well, don't those 2, when you subtract, you can get 1? Yes? Am I talking to myself? Feel like I'm talking to myself. This would be negative 7 because the larger number has to pay. Yes, and this would be 6. So it'd be 4 parentheses n minus 7 n plus 6. Any others from the work? From yesterday's homework? Because we got a lot to cover today because we're going to do grouping today. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass out today's lesson then. Let me pause this. Oop. Today we are going to learn how to factor, jeez, how to factor by grouping. Grouping is when you have four terms. Because a lot of times people will be like, "Well, how do I know which way to factor?" Right? Because I'm going to be giving you 5 ways of factoring. Well, you know it's going to be grouping if you have four terms. Okay? So you have terms that are separated by plus and minus, and you have four terms. Does that make sense? So this one is done for us, but I got to print it to PDF. Give me a second so I can write on it. So, oh, how you do grouping is you separate it. You divide it into two different groups. That's why it's called grouping. Do you see here how I did? I separated it. I put parentheses around the first two, and I put parentheses over the back two. Do you see that? Okay. Now you're going to factor out the greatest common factor. So, and they're going to be different. So over here, I have 40k to the third power minus 5k to the second power. Well, what's the biggest number that these two terms have in common? That'd be 5. And so you'd be dividing by 5, but you also look at the variables. What's the lowest exponent? K to the second. And then I'm going to look at this one over here. What's the greatest common factor between 48 and minus 6? 6. So you'll be dividing these by 6. And that's why they wrote over here 5k to the second parentheses 8k minus 1 plus 6 parenthesis 8k minus 1 again. Now, you know you did this correctly if the two parentheses after you factored out the greatest common factor are exactly the same. Are these two exactly the same? Are these two exactly the same? Yeah. So what you do is this stays in its own parentheses, and you put the greatest common factors in these spots right here and right here. And that's factoring by grouping. Okay, let's do another example. One that I don't have it written out. So number 2, I'm going to put parentheses, and I'm going to split this into two groups, right? So I'm going to put 21b to the third power plus 28b squared. Did you want one of these? What did I do with them? Did I put it back? I may have put it back. This is for next week. I'm trying to prepare for my lessons. And, oh, it's right there. It's just one paper. Okay, and then in parentheses, and then I'm going to put parentheses here, 24b plus 32. Now, the next step tells us to do what? Greatest common factor. Well, what's the greatest common factor between 21b to the third power and 28b to the second power? 7 is the number, right? And what's the variable going to be? B to the second. Okay, and then I'm going to look over here. And what's the greatest common factor between 24b and the number 32? It's the largest number that goes into both those. I don't think 12 goes into 32. Look at your factor chart. Look at 24 and 32. Yeah, it's 8. So I'm going to divide these by 8. Okay, so What? I'm going to put my 7b squared over here, right? 7 goes into 21 how many times? 3. And b to the third power divided by b to the second power is just b, because 3 minus 2 is 1. Plus 28 divided by 7, 4. And b squared over b squared is just 1. Now I'm factoring out the 8. What's 24 divided by 8? And I still have a b, right? Plus, what's 32 divided by 8? 4. And now I write the answer as 2 set of parentheses. This one will go into the first spot, plus 8 goes into the second spot, and then 3b plus 4. Yay? Okay. Now, this one has some negatives. In front of this second term here, you're going to have to make sure you factor out a negative term. So let's go ahead. I'm going to group this. 14x to the third minus 49x squared. Parentheses, right? And then I'm going to have over here, I'm going to put negative 12x plus 42. I'm going to put that minus with this negative 12. Anytime the first number of the coefficient's negative, when I factor, you're going to have to factor a negative number or it doesn't work. Okay? You may want to make a note to yourself. Factor out. Yes, Rosa, factor out a 24b divided by 8b is 3b. Yes. 24 divided by 8 is 3. Okay. Okay. So now here, what is your greatest common factor of 7x squared? And that's what will go here, right? And I'm going to go ahead and divide that. 7 goes into 14 how many times? 2. And then I have an x. And I'm going to have a minus sign because it has a minus sign. 49 divided by 7? 7. And the x squareds just cancel. Now, because I want these two parentheses to look exactly the same, this is negative, this is positive, but this parenthesis is positive and then negative. Do you see that? So when I pull out, I want to use a negative common factor. So that way the parentheses will look exactly the same. So what is my greatest common factor of a negative 12x and a positive 42? 6, but I'm going to use negative 6. What is negative 12 divided by negative 6? 2, and I have an x. What's 42 divided by negative 6? And negative 7. See, if I didn't do the negative, these two parentheses wouldn't look exactly the same. And for grouping to work, these two parentheses have to look exactly the same. And if it didn't, you have to go back and say, oops, I chose the wrong greatest common factor. So now this one will go in the first part of the parenthesis. This goes in the second part. And then, because they both share this, we put the 2x minus 7. And if I were to multiply this back out, it would look exactly like this up here. Okay, I'm going to show you two more. And then I'm going to have you, oh, no, you know what? I'm going to have you do this one. Go ahead and do number 4. Yes, you're fine. As long as you get this exact same answer I do at the end, I'm good. Because there's lots of different ways to do these type of things, but make sure it will always work. Okay, go ahead and do question number 4. So this one, I walked around, but if someone's watching on the video, I want to make sure they can do it too. So for this one, we cut it in half by just inserting our parentheses. I'm going to divide by the greatest common factor of both. This one would be 4r to the second power. I bet you there may have been a student that tried 2, and then it wouldn't work. So when I divide here, I get 5r minus 3. I better get 5r minus 3 in the second set of parentheses or I did something wrong. Here would be 7, so plus 7, and that would be 5r minus 3. And then you put your coefficients or terms that are in the front, go here and here. And then that second set of parentheses gets tacked on to the end. Okay, so some of you, did you all get a chance to do number 5 or do you need more time? You're good? Okay, so for this one, what was the greatest, 35, let me write it down because I can't talk and write at the same time. So here, what will be the greatest common factor of these two terms? 7 and to the second power squared. And what about this one though? Because these are all both negative. What are you going to use for -8? And that's to make sure that when I divide everything out, those second set of parentheses look exactly the same. So 7n squared parenthesis 5n plus 2. And then if I have -8, this would be 5n plus 2. Because -8 goes into -40n, 5n, negative divided by negative is positive, negative by negative is positive again. So then these go into the parentheses, -8, and then 5 plus 2. Now, again, there are some times when you have to do the GCF first. You should always look to see if there's a GCF. Is there a number that can divide equally into all 4 of these numbers? 7. So in this case, you would have to divide everything by 7 first. So I'm going to have a 7 before I even divide it in half. So 14 divided by 7 is 2a to the third minus 7a squared plus 2a minus 7. Now I'm going to cut these in half, right? Divide them into 2 separate parentheses. I still have this 7 out here. What am I going to divide this by? What's going to be the greatest common factor of 2a to the third minus 7a to the second? 1, but you have an a, don't you? Don't I have an a? A to the what? A to the second power. So then this would be, what's a to the second power divided into 2a to the third power? 2a. I got this a to the second out here. And then this would just be minus 7. Now this is already the same, but I need to put a number in this parenthesis, in that second set of parentheses, right? If there's no common factor, what number am I going to use? 1. I'm going to use a 1. So that way I have a number to put into that second set of parentheses. So I'll have that 7 out there. I'm going to have a squared plus 1. And then I'm going to have 2a minus 7. So this would be the 4 terms factored by grouping. But I had to take out a GCF first. So I divided everything by 7, then split it in half, and found the greatest common factors of both sets. Let's try another one. What's the greatest common factor of these 4 terms? So I'm dividing everything across the board by 5. So if I'm dividing everything by 5, yes. No, because then what will happen is you will not be fully factored. To be fully factored, because then inside you're going to have bigger numbers. And then you'd have to factor after the fact. And it's actually easier just to do it at the beginning. Okay, so this would be 2x to the third plus, what's 60 divided by 5? What is it? 12? Yep. X squared minus 3x minus, is it 14? 5 goes in 90 divided by 5, it goes 1, it'd be 18, right? And then so now I'm going to group these. It has a negative, so I have to be careful. I'm going to use a negative. What's the greatest common factor of 2x to the third and 12x squared? 2 what? X to the second power, 2x to the second power. So this would be 2x to the second. This would be x plus 6. When I divide this out, it better be an x plus 6 or I do something wrong. What am I going to divide by? 3 doesn't divide by 2. Hmm? It's going to be 3, but what? They're both negative, but in here they're both positive. So what should I be dividing by? Negative 3. So when I do my negative 3, negative 3x divided by negative 3 is x. Negative 18 divided by negative 3 is 6. And then I'll have my 2 sets of parentheses, 2x squared minus 3, because these first terms go into here. They're both x plus 6. But then I didn't write it out here because it was just too many numbers. What else do I have to write? I need to put that 5 in front. It got too messy here, and I thought it'd be too confusing, so I just waited to do it at the end there. Those are the harder ones when you have a greatest common factor of your grouping. Okay, I did promise to give you. The only thing I did was I didn't write the 5 out front because I thought that was too many numbers. So I just kept it down here. and just remembered to put it at the end. That's why. That's why I decided the second one I wasn't going to do it that way because it just made it a little. The only thing is, don't forget at the end to put this 5 out in front because that can happen. Okay.